The caucus meeting of November 21st, 2023 will now come to order at 7:46 p.m. Present are all members of council, the mayor, the directors of law, finance, HR, economic, safety, service, and guests. If there are no additions or corrections, the council meeting minutes of November 8th, 2023 are approved as written. Regarding suspension, there are two items on the agenda being requested for suspension this evening. Ordinance 2023-131, which is on second reading. Mayor Jones, would you like to speak to this one?
Thank you, Mr. President. Director Kopfer will address the transfer ordinance.
Yes, we asked for suspension in the committee. We are trying to get the appropriations adjusted as soon as possible so that we can continue and have our last months of expenditures in the right line items so that we're doing things properly.
Okay. Any objections from council to suspension? Seeing none, thank you. Also being requested for suspension this evening is Resolution 2023-140, which is on first reading. Mayor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll have Director Upton address council with the details. This is a resolution authorizing the city to apply for a community development supplemental grant.
Thank you, Mayor. Through the President, all members of council, the CDSG funding is separate from the community development block grant. Typically, both are included in the same resolution. It wasn't entirely clear at the time that the CDBG grant was due that we would be applying for the same thing. So in conversations with our staff, we are bringing forward this legislation that would authorize us to apply for $50,000 in funding to do the ADA upgrades to the North Olmsted Community Park restrooms. That includes demolition, new fixtures, new toilets, flush valves, sinks, faucet, roof removal and replacements, and adjusting the partitions in the men's and women's rooms so that the bathrooms are more ADA accessible than they currently are at this point in time. So.
The council meeting of November 21st, 2023 will now please come to order at 8:02 p.m. The audience is invited to join the council in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Brossard?
Present.
Ms. Gilchrist? Here. Mr. Glassburn?
Here.
Ms. Heeman? Here. Mr. Lippert?
Present.
Mr. Madden?
Here.
Mr. Scarl?
Present.
Ms. Williamson? Here.
If there are no additions or corrections, the council meeting minutes of November 8th, 2023, and the special council meeting minutes of November 14th, 2023 are approved as written. The following legislation is being considered for suspension of the rules this evening. On second reading, ordinance 2023-131, and on first reading, resolution 2023-140. Moving into reports, Mayor Daley Jones, do you have a report this evening?
I do, Mr. President. Thank you. Good evening, council members. We hosted the first community visioning meeting last Thursday at North Olmsted High School. The meeting was part of the Comprehensive Master Plan 2025. I was pleased that we received some good feedback from the residents in attendance, and would also like to thank those who made donations. For those residents who attended, they were able to win gift certificates from Sergeant Clean, Great Northern Mall, and then through our recreation center, some recreation center memberships. And we will have additional meetings of this type throughout the early part of next year. And just a reminder that that community input is vital to our master planning process. So also thank you to the council members who were also able to stop by. I had the privilege last week to swear in our newest firefighter paramedic, Andrew Collins. We welcome him to the North Olmsted Fire Department. Despite the adverse weather conditions which forced the cancellation of our November 17th fireworks, Santa still arrived in North Olmsted. I was pleased to take part in Santa's grand arrival at Great Northern Mall last Friday evening. A rainy evening aside, hundreds turned out to officially kick off the Christmas season at Great Northern Mall. And I had the honor of chauffeuring Santa in a golf cart as part of the mall's indoor parade. I did not run over anyone's feet, so that worked out really well. And the event was very nice to put everyone in the Christmas spirit. Our Department of Recreation and Public Engagement will host Holiday Hangout 2023 from 2 until 5 p.m. on Sunday, December 3rd at Springville Ballroom. This family-friendly event will include holiday games, crafts, music, and a visit from Santa. And I hope to see all of our city council members to attend and stop by. The next free produce distribution by the Maple School PTA will take place from 4:30 until 6:30 p.m. on Tuesday, November 28th at Maple Elementary School. This is a drive-through service for North Olmsted residents. On Wednesday, December 6th, the city will host its annual holiday brunch for employees. Not only do we do this to thank our staff for their hard work all throughout the year, but there's more to it than that. For the second year in a row, we are adopting a family for the Christmas holiday. At the event, we are collecting cash donations and will be giving a family in need a wonderful Christmas, working in conjunction with one of our churches. Last year, our very generous employees raised $3,500 to give a North Olmsted family a great Christmas. And I would invite all city council members to stop by as well if your schedule allows. I was pleased to take part in the ribbon cutting event at Sarku, Japan on Friday, November 10th. North Olmsted's newest restaurant is located in the space formerly occupied by Brown Bag Burgers near Great Northern Mall. Likewise, I was delighted to be a part of two recent events to honor our veterans. I delivered welcoming remarks with North Olmsted Superintendent David Brand at the school district's annual Salute to Veterans program, which was held on November 10th. And then on Monday, November 13th, I accompanied SITES students from the North Olmsted High School to Vitalia Senior Living and spent some one-on-one time with veterans and senior citizens there. As a reminder, North Olmsted City Hall will be closed on Thursday and Friday this week in observance of the Thanksgiving holiday. And I wish all members of City Council and all of your residents a very happy Thanksgiving. That concludes my remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Director of Law, Garreau, do you have a report this evening?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a brief update on Ted Bowman versus City of Fairview Park et al. This is a case against, as I've mentioned in the past, brought by Mr. Bowman against the City of Fairview Park, the City of North Olmsted, Officer Beck and Officer Kelly for the City of North Olmsted. We had previously filed a motion for judgment on the pleadings to have the case dismissed. It was opposed, and the city has filed its reply brief. Pleadings would now be closed, and motions would be closed on that. So we, based on what we filed, we're expecting a favorable outcome ruling in the very near future. And as soon as I hear that, I will let you know that we have been successful. So,
Rocky River Municipal Court, the finance directors meet twice a year, and one of those times was November 9th. The court is still running at a deficit, though slightly less than 2022's deficit. And recall, our maximum contribution is the total fines from last year, which are, I don't have the exact number, but around $68,000 to $70,000. So Rocky River bears the burden of anything over and above what the other cities are required maximum to contribute. And quite a discussion was had as to ways to solve these problems so that it doesn't keep continuing. The temporary budget is on first reading tonight. We went with a third of the current budget, as we've done in the past, except for zero for capital. And then we added in first quarter required expenditures such as subscriptions, computer repairs and maintenance contracts that are expire in the first quarter and that we pay for the year, plus seasonal items such as salt and overtime, which occurs in a disproportionate share in the first quarter of the year, as well as capital that had already been approved in the current year's budget but had not yet started and would not be either under contract or until the early part of next year. Additionally, similarly with the ARPA monies that we have set up to spend but we haven't had under contract yet, those budgets were carried forward in 2024's budget as well, such as the community cabin kitchen renovations that have gone out to bid several times and they've had trouble getting in bids that meet our engineer's estimate. So that's going to be going on again in the first quarter of next year. So we want to make sure those appropriations are in place. And we'll discuss it further in committee, but I just wanted you to understand this is the way the city used to do the temporary budget before the permanent budget, and with a lot of things going on that are uncertain, such as labor negotiations and other funding issues, this is the best way to set up our city so that we can have discussions once we have final year-end encumbrances or fund balances as such, and have a better handle on what our employer responsibilities are going to be in the next year as well. So that concludes the discussion on that until we have committee meeting. And we also received our monies for the EMA First Responders grants that were applied for. In total, I believe it was $388,000 for fire, dispatch, and police that were here as of a certain date, and we will be issuing a separate check run for those resources to them next week. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Moving into council committee reports, Councilwoman Williamson, Chairwoman of the Public Safety, Health and Welfare Committee, do you have a report this evening?
I do, thank you. The Public Safety, Health, and Welfare Committee met on November 14th, 2023 at 6:35 PM. Present were committee members Williamson, Madden, and Glassburn, council members Gilchrist, Heeman, and Limpert, directors of law, finance, human resources, safety, service, recreation, the special assistant to the mayor, and guests. On the agenda was liquor permit transfer number 816317 from Cleveland Airport North Olmsted LLC, doing business as Radisson Inn Cleveland Airport, to SIGMM LLC, located at 25070 Country Club Boulevard. After review by the police department and finding no issues, the matter was discussed in committee. A motion was made to recommend to all of council to not object to liquor permit number 8163714, and that motion passed with a vote of 3-0. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to not object to liquor permit transfer number 8163714 for SIGMM LLC, located at 25070 Country Club Boulevard, and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to not object to liquor permit number 8163714, which is SIGMM LLC, made by Councilwoman Williamson, seconded by Councilman Madden. Roll call, please.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Madden?
Yes.
Mr. Scarrow?
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
The meeting concluded at 6:37 PM, and that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Liquor permit 8163714 is not objected to by a vote of 7-0. Councilman Limpert, Chairman of the Building, Zoning, and Development Committee, do you have a report this evening?
I do, Mr. President, thank you. The Building Zone Development Committee met on November 14, 2023 at 6:38 PM in the caucus room. Present were President Broussard, Gilchrist, Glassburn, Madden, and committee members Heeman and Limpert. As well as the mayor, law director, finance director, HR director, economic development director, safety director, service director, recreation director, and special assistant to the mayor. On the agenda was ordinance 2023-95, Weber Auto Rezone, which was an ordinance amending the zoning map for the city of North Olmsted to rezone a portion of split parcel 233-26063 from one family residence to B3 general building business zoning as amended. Mr. Upton noted that this .6629 acre lot, which was sold to Weber Automotive, was being requested to rezone from B1 family residence to B3 general business. And Mr. Upton, in discussion, has been discussed as part of 2023-94 from the sale, confirmed that the map boundary was per Exhibit A, which ended at the abutting neighbor's property on Berkshire. And the motion passed by a vote of 2-0 to approve that motion to recommend to council. And the committee meeting ended at 7:45 PM. Mr. President, if I could just have a moment of personal privilege.
Sure.
I also just wanted to congratulate the Chestnut School, and I attended a veteran ceremony there more on a personal basis for my daughter being there, but they run an excellent Veterans Day program there for 2 years, and really get the students involved to write about veterans and provided some nice cards of support. So just wanted to commend Chestnut on a nice program as well. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilwoman Heeman, Chairwoman of the Recreation, Public Parks, and Buildings Committee, do you have a report this evening?
I do, thank you, Mr. President. The Recreation, Public Parks, and Buildings Committee meeting was held on Tuesday, November 14th, 2023 at 6:45 PM. Present were committee members Heeman and Limpert, Council President Broussard, all members of council, the mayor, all directors, along with the special assistant to the mayor, and IT manager Eric Lundberg. The committee met to discuss Resolution 2023-128, a resolution authorizing the city engineer to advertise for bids for the award of a contract to provide construction services for the Recreation Center Data Project as detailed in the specifications on file, and authorizing the mayor following approval of the Board of Control to contract for the same with the lowest and best bidder. Mr. Lundberg discussed Resolution 2023-128 by stating that this is something we have talked about before, which is to address overall improvement to the city's aging electrical infrastructure to support the city's new technology needs, power outages. Those outages result in equipment failures. The equipment failures in turn cause not only lost revenue, but equipment damage. For example, when power is lost, the pool cannot operate its pump and filtration systems. That will cause chemical imbalances and chemical damage, and the pool needs to be closed until it is safe again for residents for swimming and water activities. If the recreation building loses power, the ice rink begins to melt and has to be either shut down or refrozen, and at a minimum takes a long time to return to its normal state of use, again creating downtime, lost revenue, and possible equipment damage depending on the outdoor season, since heating and cooling are also affected. The addition of a data closet will improve not only the power outages, improve things such as wireless internet services, cell reception at certain of the city's public buildings and public spaces, but also addressing the city's need for a redundancy system and disaster relief system regarding the protection of our technology and our residents. Redundancy is a technical term that simply put means like a backup ability and a sort of auto-functioning ability to our city technology servers. The city currently has no type of disaster relief center for its technology, nor for its residents to use in the case of an emergency. The cost of the data closet is estimated to be in a range of $300,000 to $400,000, and if you cannot tell by listening to the report in the committee meetings, it's greatly needed. Ms. Heeman made a motion to recommend to all of council Resolution 2023-128, seconded by Mr. Limpert. The motion passed 2-0. The meeting was concluded at 6:56 p.m. Thank you. Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilman Glassburn, Chairman of the Finance Committee, do you have a report this evening?
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. President. My primary report was given last week at the special council meeting, but I do have one of the pieces of the legislation from that report, Ordinance 132. We've been offered a updated map of the proposed Lorraine Road TIF, and at this time, I would move to accept that updated map for the legislation and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to amend 2023-131 is made by Councilman Glassburn, seconded by Councilman Limpert. Roll call, please.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes on dash 132.
Oh, did I have that wrong?
Yeah, 131 is the transfer ordinance, 132 is the TIF.
Okay, yep, thank you for correcting.
Sure, sorry.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist?
Yes.
Mr. Scarl?
Yes.
Mr. Min?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Ordinance 2023-132 is amended by a vote of 7-0.
Thank you, Mr. President. Can I have a personal privilege moment?
Of course.
Thank you. I also had the good fortune to attend the city planning meeting on Thursday and was encouraged by how many people attended. Learned some preferences that I didn't expect, and I'm eager to see the final tabulation of what folks there put. But then lastly, I want to thank my council members, the administration, and the audience that has dealt with my limitations for my neck injury. My surgery was successful. I should be close to normal in a couple of weeks, and thank you all for your patience. Thanks.
Thank you, and we'll take close to normal. Councilwoman Gilchrist, Vice Chair of the Environmental Control Committee, do you have a report this evening?
Yes, I do, Mr. President. Thank you. The Environmental Control Committee met on Tuesday, November 14th, 2023 at 6:57 PM. Present were Council President Broussard, committee members Gilchrist and Madden, council members Glassburn, Heeman, Limpert, and Williamson, the mayor, the law director, the finance director, the HR director, the economic director, the safety director, the recreation director, special assistant to the mayor, and guests. The purpose of the meeting was to discuss ordinance 2023-127, private waste collection 50%, an ordinance authorizing the city of North Olmsted pursuant to section 94101D of the Streets, Utilities, and Public Service Code to partially contribute to the costs incurred for refuge collection by owners of certain residential structures not otherwise authorized to receive refuge collection services from the city of North Olmsted and declaring an emergency. It was explained that ordinance 2023-127 is the second of 4 parts to bring specific waste pickup costs in private streets related to Republic services under the umbrella of the city's expenditures. Ordinance 2023-127 is expected to be implemented as of January 1st, 2024, and will up the cost to 50%. Ordinance 2023-127 was recommended to council by a vote of 2-0. The meeting ended at 7:05 PM. And that concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you. And right back to you, Councilwoman Gilchrist, for Chairwoman of the Intergovernmental Relations Committee. Do you have a report this evening?
I do not have a report.
All
Thank
right,
you.
Thank you. Councilman Madden, Chairman of the Streets and Transportation Committee, do you have a report this evening?
No, Mr. President, no report. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any letters or communications to come before council at this time?
No, Mr. President.
Thank you. We will now move into audience participation. Thank you for attending tonight's council meeting. Public comment offers the opportunity for members of the public to share information and bring issues and concerns to the attention of city council members. It is not a debate, and public comment speakers should not expect a back and forth exchange. Council members, however, may ask clarifying questions of the speaker, city staff, or fellow council members. Those attending city council meetings should show the same respect to others that they wish to have shown to them. And at this time, if there's anyone in the audience who wishes to address council, please come to the podium, state and spell your name and address for the clerk. If you live in a city other than North Olmsted, please state the name of that city and proceed with your comments. You will have up to 5 minutes.
Hi, Connie English, 5009 East Park. I'm going to read a letter. It's an email from a neighbor who sent it out to City Council and the mayor. Can you hear me okay? No? These are my questions, at least preliminary as to the cell tower. That's okay. I can't tell because I can't hear. Near that. Is this better? Mm-hmm. Okay. The questions he asks are, how tall will the tower be? I listened to 2 city council meetings and heard various and far from definitive responses to this question. Do you have renderings of what the tower will look like? If so, please share them. I would think that a design concept would be a critical step in this process, considering the visual impact the tower would have at the park and for the surrounding homeowners. If you have renderings, do you have any plans to publish them? What studies have the city done or commissioned as to the tower's impact on the market value and tax basis of surrounding homes? If any, please share them. I understand that the city is looking to generate revenue through a lease, but what will the cost be to homeowners and what offset will be created by diminishing, I'm assuming, market value and therefore tax revenue? What studies have the city done, commissioned, or reviewed as of the 145-foot cell tower at the community park? You must remember that TowerCo asked the city if they were interested in their proposal. If. We said yes. There is a master plan with a sense of urgency and comes with a very large price tag, a shortage of funds, and a plan to build a tower to appease the funding issues. Will the city hit the jackpot, and how fortunate and very lucky to have the park property fall right in the crosshairs of Tower Co. Will we be able to experience a repeal and then locate and discuss alternate locations, some of which are approximately 1 mile away, and move forward with the park renovations? This is too important of an issue to not get right. Exceeding planning, research, and discussions will bode well. You cannot be 100% right all the time, but you can be 100% wrong. The park should be zoned for recreational use, and the tower should not fall within that. There will be a loss of park space, and this is not what the park was intended for. The park has stood the test of time for 98 years, some years substantially more challenging than others, yet without the park being offered up for a petty cash payout. 98 years. Think about all the economic history this park and its city councils and mayors have gone through. The stock market crash, the Depression, World War II, the recessions in the 1960s, the 1970s, the 1980s, the housing market crash in 2007 through 2009. The park survived until now. The beauty and aesthetics of the park and surrounding businesses and homes, some that are very near the historic district on Butternut, including Lorraine, East Park, West Park, North Park, Martin, Evergreen, Douglas, Alden, Dewey, Burns, Porter, and Mackenzie, need to be respected, preserved, and their property values secured while also ensuring their safety. You cannot beautify the city while adding a cell tower, and you cannot beautify the park while adding a cell tower. The tower needs to be hidden somewhere else. Spruce is just 1.3 miles from the park. Forest is 0.6 miles. The range of a 4 LTE tower in general is about 2 to 10 miles. 5G cell tower range is 1 to 3 miles on the low and mid-band spectrum. Low and mid-band projects farther but are slower. The range of 5G small cell, ones on the utility poles or lampposts, is smaller. It's 50 to 2,000 feet on high band, and its range is shorter, but it's the fastest. I've been driving around the city locating the 5G small cells. There's one at Mackenzie and Lorraine at Zapatellas. There's one at Dover Center and Butternut. There's one at Brook Park in Columbia. There's one at Great Northern in Lorraine. And I just passed one on the way here on Burns and Midvale.
Connie?
Yes.
I'm sorry. The 5 minutes has been exceeded.
Oh, I just have 3 sentences left.
Go for it.
Okay, thank you. Where was I? I'm sure you are aware where these are because you receive fees for the locations. Under the Freedom of Information Act or public records, I will be asking for the locations and how many more sites will be acquired, whether on streetlights, slim poles, telephone poles, or utility poles. That's it.
Hi, I'm Jama Westling, Wesseling, and I live at 5323 Evergreen Drive. When I first heard about the 145-foot cell tower going into the park, I thought that it could not be true. And of course, it has become apparent that it was true, and my heart sank for many reasons. My first thought was the vision of urban metal reaching up to the sky, a menace to the beauty of the greenery and the living inhabitants of the park, both human and botanical. Our park is a bit of a sanctuary. There really aren't too many places anymore where you can enjoy beauty and feel safe and at peace. Right now, our park is a wholesome environment where we walk. We meet at the picnic tables for lunch. Sports are played. Loved ones are memorialized on the benches, and our veterans are honored. I also have to say that the Garden Club does a darn good job beautifying the grounds. What could it possibly say about the leadership of a city that would choose to deface all of this in the name of the almighty dollar? If the city puts forth an action that says that everything that this park stands for is no longer important to us, won't that trickle down to those who patronize it? Placing a 145-foot tower in the park will establish a shift and not for the better. And let's face it, aren't we working on a shift for the better around here? Not too long ago, my husband and I drove down Lorraine Avenue. I counted abandoned storefronts. I stopped after 17. Thankfully, there is progress there, which makes us all very happy. And we can see that there's been a shift, and this new shift is for the better. But we're not all the way there yet. Given the state of Lorraine Avenue, only to be complemented by a dinosaur of a mall that's hanging on by its fingernails, let's face it, our park is the only jewel in our crown right now. And please don't yank it out. When we bought our home in 2015, our street was dismal. No fault of the homeowners that simply became too old to take care of their homes. And again, we have had a shift, and this one is also for the better. Homes were sold, prices went up. Young, enthusiastic families became our new residents, and the neighborhood vibe now dances. People have put money and effort into their home's appearance and spruced up their landscaping. Devaluing our homes with all the effort we put forth would be demoralizing, to say the least. If West Park, North Park, and East Park home values fall, so goes the way of Evergreen, Douglas, and Berkshire. And if Evergreen, Douglas, and Berkshire fall, so goes, and on and on and on. You get the picture. Please work with us and keep the shift in a positive trajectory. Consider other options as they relate to both location and equipment choices. We have to be better here than a money grab nation. Thank you.
Good evening, Terry Sarnecki, 5109 East Park Drive. Obviously here with my neighbors opposing the cell tower at the park. Last meeting, I forgot to let you know, obviously you know how much this means to us, how passionate we are about it, and I just wanted to let you know that some of us are so serious that we're getting appraisals and we're seeking legal counsel, and I really wish we don't have to do that. There are other locations, so we're really praying for you all to hear us and help us. So meanwhile, I'm going to go back to the question I had last week, or last meeting, was the vote that you took, okay, the information was wrong. Do you not have to have another redo? I don't know the proper terms, but reintroduce the legislation and do it with the correct information. It may not change everybody's mind, but it may change somebody's mind. Or you may think about it again a little bit differently. Can someone please tell us if
you discuss and investigate the need, if this is actually needed, and find a safer location. I implore council to do just that, to repeal the legislation for the safety of our residents. Finding courage to do what's right isn't always easy, especially when others may be discouraging it, but it's always what's needed. And in the end, I know you all want to do what's right for North Olmsted residents. You wouldn't be here if you didn't. Thank you, and I wish you all a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Seeing no other comments from the audience, we will now move into legislation.
Legislation on third reading, Resolution 2023-112, introduced by Mayor Jones, a resolution authorizing the Director of Economic and Community Development to make application on behalf of the City of North Olmsted to the State of Ohio Department of Transportation, ODOT, to participate in the Safe Routes to School program, grant program, and further authorizing the mayor to accept the grant if awarded and execute agreements therefore and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 2023-112 and ask for a second.
Second.
A motion to adopt Resolution 2023-112 is made by Councilwoman Williamson, seconded by Councilman Madden. Roll call, please.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Madden?
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist?
Yes.
Mr. Scarl?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Resolution 2023-112 is adopted by a vote of 7-0.
Resolution 2023-115, introduced by Mayor Jones, a resolution authorizing the Director of Public Service to advertise for bids for the award of a contract to purchase concrete materials and related supplies for the year 2024, is detailed in the specifications on file, and authorizing the mayor, following approval of the Board of Control, to contract for the same with the lowest and best bidder.
Mr. President, I'd like to move to adopt Resolution 2023-115 and ask for a second.
Second.
A motion to adopt Resolution 2023-115 made by Councilman Madden, seconded by Councilman Glassburn. Roll call, please.
Mr. Madden?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Scarl?
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist?
Yes.
Resolution 2023-115 is adopted by a vote of 7-0.
Resolution 2023-116, introduced by Mayor Jones, a resolution authorizing the Director of Public Service to advertise for bids for the award of a contract to provide asphalt and related materials for repairs upon city streets, is detailed in the specifications on file, and authorizing the mayor, following approval of the Board of Control, to contract for the same with the lowest and best bidder.
Mr. President, I'd like to move to adopt Resolution 2023-116 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt Resolution 2023-116 made by Councilman Madden, seconded by Councilman Glassburn. Roll call, please.
Mr. Madden?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Mr. Scarl?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist?
Yes.
Resolution 2023-116 is adopted by a vote of 7-0.
Resolution 2023-117, introduced by Mayor Jones, a resolution authorizing the Director of Public Service to advertise for bids for the award of a contract to perform heating, ventilation, and air conditioning HVAC services as detailed in specifications on file, and authorizing the mayor, following approval of the Board of Control, to contract for the same with the lowest and best bidder.
Mr. President,
Councilwoman.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt 2023-117 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt Resolution 2023-117 made by Councilwoman Heeman, seconded by Councilman Scarl. Roll call, please.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Scarl?
Yes.
Mr. Madden?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Mr. Lippert?
Yes.
Resolution 2023-117 is adopted by a vote of 7-0.
Resolution 2023-118, introduced by Mayor Jones, a resolution authorizing the Director of Public Service to advertise for bids for the award of a contract to perform pest control services as detailed in the specifications on file, and authorizing the mayor, following approval of the Board of Control, to contract for the same with the lowest and best bidder.
Mr. President,
Councilwoman.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt 2023-118 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt Resolution 2023-118 made by Councilwoman Heeman, seconded by Councilman Scarl. Roll call, please.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Scarl?
Yes.
Mr. Madden?
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Resolution 2023-118 is adopted by a vote of 7-0.
Resolution 2023-119, introduced by Mayor Jones, a resolution authorizing the Director of Public Service to advertise for bids for the award of a contract to perform elevator inspection, maintenance, and repair as detailed in the specifications on file, and authorizing the mayor, following approval of the Board of Control, to contract for the same with the lowest and best bidder.
Mr. President,
Councilwoman.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt 2023-119 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt Resolution 2023-119 made by Councilwoman Heeman, seconded by Councilman Scarl. Roll call, please.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Scarl?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Madden?
Yes.
Mr. Lippert?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist?
Yes.
Resolution 2023-119 is adopted by a vote of 7-0.
Resolution 2023-120, introduced by Mayor Jones, a resolution authorizing the Director of Public Service to advertise for bids for the award of a contract to purchase stone materials and related supplies for the year 2024 as detailed in the specifications on file, and authorizing the mayor, following approval of the Board of Control, to contract for the same with the lowest and best bidder.
Mr. President,
Councilman.
make a motion to adopt Resolution 2023-120 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt Resolution 2023-120 made by Councilman Madden, seconded by Councilman Glassburn. Roll call, please.
Mr. Madden?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Lippert?
Yes.
Mr. Scarl?
Yes.
Resolution 2023-120 is adopted by a vote of 7-0.
Resolution 2023-122, introduced by Mayor Jones, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a 2-year contract with the Cuyahoga County Board of Health in the amount of $11,188, each year payment of $5,594.
Mr. President,
Councilman.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 2023-122 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt Resolution 2023-122 made by Councilman Scarl, seconded by Councilwoman Gilchrist. Roll call, please.
Mr. Scarl?
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Madden?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Lippert?
Yes.
Resolution 2023-122 is adopted by a vote of 7-0.
Resolution 2023-123, introduced by Mayor Jones, a resolution authorizing the mayor to contract for the purchase of 25 portable radios from Motorola Solutions at a cost of $116,649 as priced through the state purchase program and required by the state of Ohio's Marks Radio Network for deployment by North Olmsted Police Department, and further authorizing the mayor to execute all contract documents and declaring an emergency.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 2023-123 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt Resolution 2023-123 made by Councilwoman Williamson, seconded by Councilman Madden. Roll call, please.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Madden?
Yes.
Mr. Scarl?
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Mr. Lippert?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Resolution 2023-123 is adopted by a vote of 7-0.
Ordinance 2023-126, introduced by Mayor Jones, an ordinance to make appropriations for the Clay Road resurfacing / widening and force main projects for the year ending December 31st, 2023.
Mr. President, I move to adopt 2023-126 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt ordinance 2023-126 made by Councilman Glassburn, seconded by Councilman Limpert. Roll call, please.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Mr. Lippert?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Scarl?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist?
Yes.
Mr. Madden? Is authorized to receive refuse collection services from the city of North Olmsted and is authorized to receive refuse collection services from the city of North Olmsted and declaring an emergency. Resolution 2023-128, introduced by Mayor Jones, a resolution authorizing the city engineer to advertise for bids for the award of a contract to provide construction services for the Recreation Center data project as detailed in the specifications on file, and authorizing the mayor, following approval of the Board of Control, to contract for the same with the lowest and best bidder. Ordinance 2023-129, introduced by Mayor Jones, an ordinance accepting a .0006 acre permanent right-of-way easement acquired for a public purpose, to wit, the establishment, construction, reconstruction, widening, repair, or maintenance of Clegg Road from Richard T. Barber II on property known as permanent parcel number 231-24-014 and declaring an emergency. Ordinance 2023-131, introduced by Mayor Jones, an ordinance to make and transfer appropriations for the current expenses and other expenditures for the city of North Olmsted for the year ending December 31st, 2023, and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I move to suspend the rule requiring 3 readings for this legislation. This was heard in committee. It makes a variety of funding changes, including those for our public safety forces, and I ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to suspend the rule requiring 3 readings for ordinance 2023-131 is made by Councilman Glassburn and seconded by Councilman Limpert. Roll call, please.
Mr. Glassburn.
Yes.
Mr. Lippert.
Yes.
Ms. Heeman.
Yes.
Ms. Williamson.
Yes.
Mr. Scarl.
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist.
Yes.
Mr. Madden.
Yes.
That motion passes by a vote of 7-0. If there's anyone in the audience who wishes to address council regarding ordinance 2023-131, please approach the podium now.
Seeing none, Mr. President, I move to adopt 2023-131 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt ordinance 2023-131 made by Councilman Glassburn, seconded by Councilman Limpert. Roll call, please.
Mr. Glassburn.
Yes.
Mr. Lippert.
Yes.
Ms. Heeman.
Yes.
Mr. Madden.
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist.
Yes.
Mr. Scarl.
Yes.
Ms. Williamson.
Yes.
Ordinance 2023-131 is adopted by a vote of 7-0.
Ordinance 2023-132, introduced by Mayor Jones, amending ordinance number 2012-72 to add to the property subject to the exemption granted therein and to extend the exemption from taxation for certain parcels in the city and declaring an emergency. Legislation on first reading. Ordinance 2023-133, an ordinance restating the rates of compensation for the administrative personnel for the year 2023 and otherwise establishing compensation rates and descriptions for various administrative and legislative personnel for the year 2024 and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I introduce and place on first reading.
Ordinance 2023-134, an ordinance to make and transfer appropriations for the current expenses and other expenditures for the city of North Olmsted for the year ending December 31st, 2024 and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I introduce and place on first reading.
Ordinance 2023-135, an ordinance dispensing with the RFP process otherwise required by sections 113.03 et seq. Of the Administrative Code and authorizing the mayor, subject to approval of the Board of Control, if necessary, to enter into a 2-year agreement with American Legal Publishing Corporation for the purpose of providing ordinance codification services to the city of North Olmsted and declaring an emergency.
Introduce and place on first reading.
Ordinance 2023-136, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into contracts for the deposit of public monies with the institutions designated by council as depositories for the active and interim account of the city and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I introduce and place on first reading.
Resolution 2023-137, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a 1-year contract with TAC Computer, Inc. in order to provide maintenance and repair services to computer hardware and software in the North Olmsted Fire Department and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I introduce and place on first reading.
Resolution 2023-138, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a 1-year contract with TAC Computer, Inc. in order to provide maintenance and repair services to computer hardware and software in the North Olmsted Police Department and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I introduce and place on first reading.
Mr. President, can I approach for 1 moment, please?
Director, sure.
The agenda was amended. I know. Resolution 2023-139, a resolution authorizing the Director of Public Safety to advertise for bids for the award of a contract to provide fire prevention services is detailed in the specifications on file, and authorizing the mayor following approval of the Board of Control to contract for the same with the lowest and best bidder and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I introduce and place on first reading.
Resolution 2023-140, a resolution authorizing the City of North Olmsted to apply for Community Development Supplemental Grant, CDSG, funding in the amount of $50,000 for renovation of restroom facilities at North Olmsted Community Park, and if awarded, further authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement to accept the grant funds and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I introduce and place on first reading and request suspension of the rule requiring 3 readings and formal committee review.
Mr. President, I move to suspend the rule requiring 3 readings and formal committee review on this legislation. We discussed it in the caucus tonight. It's an intergovernmental agreement that will benefit our public at North Olmsted Park, and I ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to suspend the rule requiring 3 readings and formal committee review for Resolution 2023-140 is made by Councilman Glassburn, seconded by Councilman Limpert. Roll call, please.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist?
Yes.
Mr. Scarl?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Madden?
Yes.
That motion passes by a vote of 7-0. If there's anyone in the audience who wishes to address council regarding Resolution 2023-140, please approach the podium now.
Good evening. So I have a clarifying question on this. How would any citizen know that you were going to suspend second and third readings? They would never have an opportunity to come here and ask questions or give opinions in advance. So how does that work? I don't have an opinion on this. I would like to understand the process so that the community knows how this is in first reading, and you all just said, no, we don't need those other readings. We're just going to pass this through. Can you please explain to all of us how that works?
Yeah, I'll give you the Cliff Notes version.
Awesome.
This is not the norm, it's the exception. Most readings go 3 readings, but sometimes these things are issues of timing. For instance, we have a deadline to meet when applying for a grant for free money, and we have to jump on it and take it, and then we suspend that rule requiring 3 readings and/or formal committee review so that we can expedite the process. And again, I want to point out that it's the exception and not the rule.
Okay.
All right.
I appreciate that. We've been to several of these meetings, and it seems like every meeting, there's a suspension. And so I was just wondering, as a citizen, I don't ever know if you're going to, introduce a suspension, so I never have the opportunity to be at a meeting to say something. So
Yeah,
I appreciate
the vast majority are deadline related, and, we're getting to the end of the year, and we've got, roll call, please.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes, with comment, just one other comment around suspension. For instance, this one has been something that's been talked about as part of the budget plan of improvement. And so typically we know, months in advance that that's something that the administration is looking at doing in budgeting, and then this is an opportunity to make it cost less for the residents. But I think it is an important thing that we are always cautious of. Do we suspend things too often? But in this case, this is certainly an opportunity we want to take advantage of. So yes, thank you.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Madden?
Yes.
Mr. Scarl?
Yes.
Resolution 2023-140 is adopted by a vote of 7-0.
Resolution 2023-141, an ordinance establishing a new Chapter 767 of the Business Regulation Code of the Codified Ordinances of the City of North Olmsted entitled Sale of Cannabis and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I introduce and place on first reading.
Thank you. Moving into scheduling committee meetings for Tuesday, November 28th, 2023. Councilwoman Williamson for Public Safety, Health, and Welfare.
Thank you. Yes, I'd like to schedule that meeting for 6:45 PM to address resolutions 2023-137, 138, 139, and ordinance 2023-141. I ask for the mayor or her designee to be present at those meetings. Thank you.
Thank you. and Councilman Glassburn for Finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would like Finance to meet at 7 PM to hear 133, 134, 135, and 136, if I got all the pieces referred. It would seem that representatives from HR, Finance, and possibly our council clerk would be helpful, and any other designee of the mayor as she sees fit. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a motion on the floor to allow council and committee meetings as well as boards and commissions to continue the option for virtual meetings until December 31st, 2024?
So moved.
Second.
I believe I've got the first and the second, or the motion and the second, right? Motion to allow council and committee meetings as well as boards and commissions to continue the option for virtual meetings until December 31st, 2024, made by Councilman Scarl and seconded by Councilman Madden. Councilman Glassburn. Roll call, please.
Mr. Scarl?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist?
Yes.
Ms. Seaman?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Mr. Madden?
Yes.
That motion carries by a vote of 7-0. Just want to say from my family to yours and on behalf of City Council, I want to wish everyone a very blessed and happy Thanksgiving and a safe one also. With the agenda being completed and there being no further business to come before council, this meeting of November 21st, 2023 is adjourned at 9:11 p.m.